Police say they're not treating his death as suspicious. Hatton won world titles at light welterweight and welterweight, but it was also his down-to-earth personality that made him one of Britain's most popular boxers. Hitman, as he was known throughout his career, had a number of iconic fights, including Costa Zoo, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. After retiring, he'd spoken openly about his struggles with mental health and drug addiction, but he was due to make a comeback this December. Channel migrants entering the UK illegally are set to be deported on Air France passenger flights this week. The Telegraph reports the arrangements for the flights have already been agreed and could be as early as Monday. The asylum seekers are expected to be escorted by contracted Home Office security staff on commercial flights rather than chartered aircraft. The one-in, one-out returns deal with France will see the UK accept approved asylum seekers in return. A cabinet minister has said that if the Prime Minister had known the full details of Lord Mandelson's association with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, it's highly unlikely he would have been made US ambassador. Sir Keir Starmer had been given a report on the relationship between the pair, but Downing Street says he was economical with the truth before his appointment. Peter Mandelson was sacked on Thursday after damning emails between the pair were published. It's understood the suspect accused of killing the activist Charlie Kirk is not cooperating with police. Utah's Governor Spencer James Cox told NBC News that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was in a relationship with his roommate, who's in the process of transitioning. He added the partner is being incredibly cooperative and had no idea the shooting was going to happen. Charlie Kirk, who co-founded the conservative student movement Turning Point USA, regularly expressed anti-LGBTQ views, although authorities say the motive for the attack is still unclear. Prince Harry has said he has no regrets about speaking out against his family in his memoir Spare, saying his conscience is clear. Speaking to The Guardian during a visit to Ukraine, which followed several days in the UK, the Duke of Sussex said his autobiography was a series of corrections to stories already out there. After reuniting with the King in their first face-to-face meeting in more than a year, Harry also hinted at returning to the UK, saying he'd like to spend more time here. And it's set to be a wet and windy start to the week with gusts of up to 65 miles an hour. The Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for most of England and all of Wales until tomorrow evening. Travel disruption, large waves affecting coastal areas and power outages are expected. You're up to date. Have a very good evening.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
I'm just getting the energy going in the studio here, guys. Welcome to Alex Armstrong Tonight, latest edition. We're going to be going through all of your front pages first. Let's give you a refresher, though, shall we? Let's start with The Guardian. The Prime Minister condemns protesters who use England flag as a symbol of violence. I think there's a little bit of a misconstrued message there, which we might dig into in the show, actually. Anyway, Metro shows over for phone grabbers. The Independent revealed the true cost of buying a home for Gen Z. The Sun, rest in peace, champ. The Telegraph, benefits rebels rally behind Burnham. The Daily Star, he was a man of the people, a great man inside the ring and a wonderful man outside of it. Barry McGowan on Ricky Hatton. And the Daily Mail, scramble inside number 10 to save Starmer. The Times, bruised PM hopes deal with the US will quell revolt. The Eye, prisoners will help to build warships under new plan to boost UK defences. Well. Let's get the thoughts of my panel political commentator and social media phenomenon Chloe Dobbs, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell and GB News contributor and comedian Paul Cox. Right, should we get stuck in, guys? Shall we get stuck in? Where should we start, hey?
Wherever you like.
Should we start with the Daily Mail?
Let's do it.
Should start with the Daily Mail because they are running with this. Let me just find my paper first of all, so excuse me for being unorganised.
Guess what I haven't got?
Look at this. Big one, isn't it? Scramble inside number 10 to save Keir Starmer. Officials did... Here we go. Officials did know details of Mandelson's Epstein emails, but insist PM was left in the dark. Downing Street was last night scrambling to protect Keir Starmer as it emerged. Mandelson was aware of the fatal allegation against Lord Mandelson days before he was sacked. And this is typical, isn't it, Paul? This is typical. What they say is he didn't know. I mean, how much does the Prime Minister not know these days? He doesn't know what's in his scripts when he's reading the Island of Strangers speech. He doesn't know what's going on inside his own office.
I think Mandelson's going to come for Starmer now. Simple as that. There's a huge contradiction here. Mandelson said right from the very beginning of this particular scandal of his, God bless Mandelson, that he made Keir Starmer aware of absolutely everything. We all knew. If Keir Starmer didn't know, he was the only one who didn't know. We all knew that Mandelson had an association with Epstein. So the fact that Keir Starmer is now admitting to being the only person in the country that didn't know, to me, is a huge contradiction. It doesn't make him look any better. I think actually, and I slightly jest at the top there, I do believe, I tweeted this week, I do believe the Mandelson incident will be the beginning of the end for Keir Starmer. Yeah. The way he came out to bat for him on Wednesday at PMQs was incredibly strange to me. He knew he knew he was going to be sacking him the next day. He had to know, because at that point we all knew that Mandelson had brokered this deal after Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted. And that was a red line. You cannot go beyond that point. So all of this is a hyper contradiction. I think that the backbenchers have had enough of Starmer. I think that the hard left within the party have had enough of Starmer. I think the centre within the party are now starting to have enough of Starmer. Starmer is toast.
Change. That's what we promised, right? Maybe it's changed.
Well, he's going to change, yeah.
That's what we'll get. Change the Prime Minister, Chloe. What do you think?
I think that this is probably a story that matters a lot in the Westminster bubble, but to the general public probably doesn't matter. But the general public are furious with Keir Starmer for other reasons, so I'm not saying they're content with him at all. But it'd be interesting to see if those within Westminster are able to topple him. As Bill and I have alluded to before, I don't think that there's a clear successor, and so I'm not sure if he will go. But it is just yet another unnecessary storm. And, I mean, you saw this with the Tories, where they were just constantly going at each other, talking about leadership challenges, constantly changing leaders. The Labour Party don't do that quite so much, but it seems like we're having the start of that. But whenever that happens, that means that all of their focus and energy goes away from actually fixing the problems in the country and onto silly Westminster politics.
Yeah, Bill, I mean, obviously, you know the inside of a cabinet better than most of us. I mean, I'm not talking about IKEA cabinets, of course. I'm talking about parliamentary ones.
Well, I probably know the inside of an IKEA cabinet.
Give me credit
this
for that,
cabinet's
Bill.
less robust than the IKEA
we'll have to
one.
prove that. We'll have to get the evidence for that. But Bill, look, I mean, listen. Either way, I mean, we've chatted about this a little bit earlier on in the show, but it's not good for the Prime Minister to be looking to support somebody when his team knew about these emails, and of course they're saying he was kept in the dark, right? That even if that is true, it still doesn't look good that they feel that they can keep the Prime Minister in the dark on a massive scandal.
Look, he wasn't kept in the dark.
That's what they're saying.
What happened? Well, yeah, the Daily Mail is saying that's what they're saying. Look, what happened was the elements of the emails downloaded on Tuesday. The Foreign Office then went to Mandelson and said, we need all of the emails, which he doesn't have because it's an old email address, and we need context. They were seeking to get that. The full emails, as I understand it, then came in on Wednesday morning, and but again they were asking Mandelson for information. That information came back Wednesday afternoon after PMQs, and as soon as the Prime Minister then saw the full detail of the emails, he sacked Mandelson. And in terms of standards in public life, you want a Prime Minister, unlike the Prime Ministers in the last Tory government, who actually deal with people who've committed transgressions, and that's what actually happened.
The only problem I have, Bill, is that during PMQs he said he gives him his full confidence. Now, I think if you think there might be something a bit iffy going on, you don't go, I've given him my full support. That's the language I think you've got to be careful, because he looks like looks like maybe the Mail is right. He was left in the dark and didn't know about it, which I think is bad enough as it is. But even if he was in the know, to then give him the full confidence, it still doesn't look good. Do you know what I mean?
I think a fair critique is that Keir can sometimes be a bit leaden-footed on his feet, but when he's engaging in the chamber. However, the alternative, and he didn't know the full detail at that stage, the alternative to saying he has he has my full confidence is he doesn't have my full confidence, and then you would have had a whole different situation.
We're waiting for information, just like with Angela Rayner.
Yeah.
Said we're going to wait to see what the ethics advisor says. He knew. Mandelson himself had announced that morning in an interview there's going to be more stuff that comes to light.
With respect, that does not work in the chamber where you say, oh, we're waiting for further information, and you've then got a massive crisis on your hands for actually saying that.
I understand what you're saying, Bill, and I do get the political aspect of it. However, I think that with a government that's been, we accuse them of communicating badly.
Which they do.
This is another, at the bare minimum, a terrible miscommunication between his own people or between him and Parliament. Paul, Kemi Badenoch is saying that he lied to the whole country. And if that's true, and he is found guilty of which, look, in some ways, this Mail story sort of poo-poos a little bit. It says, that's actually not true. They didn't tell him. Either way, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I think it's astonishing that Bill thinks the Mail might lie about Labour. I think that's an outrageous statement.
Paul,
They've been doing it since about 1921.
There we go. That is the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is going to deliver more than 11,000 pounds of supplies to the International Space Station. Now, I love this stuff. I'm sorry to interrupt the newspaper, but we will come back to them, of course. SpaceX, of course, owned by Elon Musk, who's also in our headlines today. At the same time as being in our headlines and all over the world, the man is firing supplies to the International Space Station on his private space company here. This is the Northrop Grumman Cygnus XL cargo craft. There we go. That's what is heading on its route to the International Space Station. I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing this sort of stuff. It gives me faith in humanity, because at the end of the day, if we're not able to innovate anymore, we're not able to come together and build these incredible things, and we do this on the International Space Station as an international community. Russians, Chinese, Americans go there, Brits go there. That's quite special, isn't it, Bill?
It is, but I'm actually going to deal with that slightly obliquely. I was listening to a radio documentary this week about do you remember the tragedy of the shuttle?
86, January 86.
86. And at the heart of that, and I didn't know this, the engineers had massively argued against it taking off. And the story focuses on the key engineer who was absolutely spitting nails, and his daughter was sitting with him. And when it got above the level of the launch pad, they're all going, oh, it's OK, Dad, it's no problem. He said, no, it can still happen. And then it blew up.
It's so sad when we see things like that happen, because, of course, it sets back the agenda to get into space, and it terrifies the public as well. The public don't want to see their money literally explode in front of them, as well as people. So that's a really terrible...
Expose the spacecraft to the
vacuum. With how good these rocket boosters... I mean, we're going to criticise Elon Musk all you like, but those rocket boosters that will inevitably land off of this spacecraft shortly, they should detach, they will land automatically back on tiny little platforms in the middle of the water. And when I see images like that, it really gives me hope in our joint humanity.
Our potential.
Yeah, in the potential of humans to do incredible things. And we haven't seen a lot of incredible innovations in humans. Well, at least, there we go. Here's one of the boosters flying back now to Earth. You'll see that is going to fly back through just before the atmosphere there. It's going to land on a platform in the middle of the ocean. Insane. Insane that we can do that. They can even be landing in space stations and be caught by those incredible pincers. This is like catching, I can't put like a nail in the air with chopsticks, flying through in our planet. And this is quite incredible stuff indeed. Chloe, Elon Musk is a man. Of course, many people have criticisms of him. He gets involved in politics. But it's still a testament to the work he's built, because I would say without Elon Musk's involvement in this, we wouldn't have the massive innovations in space we have today.
I mean, he is an incredible, incredible man. I mean, the amount of persistence that it requires to achieve what he has achieved with these rockets is just unimaginable. You see the success, but what you don't see is the failure after failure after failure, and the day-to-day struggles that they go through, where they think this just isn't going to work. But Elon is clear. I don't play to fail. I play to win, and he will keep going no matter what. I'm also very impressed that this has been going on today, and he's also found the time to do a load of tweets as well.
I don't think he's pressing the buttons anymore. But Paul, one of the things that Elon Musk did with SpaceX, and we have to remember, this is a company he invested some of his last money into into after Tesla because so many rockets blew up, as they do.
Yeah.
But he literally, well, first he went to the Russians. He first was going to go and buy an old Russian rocket, and he said...
Did he not do that? I think he just
No, he
didn't
didn't in the end. What he said was, why don't we just completely deconstruct what makes a rocket and rebuild it in a new way? And I think that's incredible. That's exactly the sort of engineering we need in society. What makes me really sad, though, Paul, is that recently Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, just announced that we wouldn't be funding a space station here in the UK, to a rocket pad for us to launch our own space equipment into the atmosphere. And I think this is a $1 trillion business we could be sitting on, but we're now going to lose that because of the budget.
Yeah, first of all, on Elon Musk, from PayPal to Tesla to SpaceX, he has been at the very pinnacle of human innovation in the last 10 to 20 years. He's made himself, he's an incredibly successful man. He's invested billions and billions of his own dollars into improving the human race. And most people at the moment just focus on what he says in a tweet. And he barely even mentions all this other stuff. He is in the 0.01 percentile of human beings in the world.
I'd say it's even less than that.
And he's a great man and will be remembered for such. There are many great things that are going on in the world. In fact, just this weekend, there's lots of things that happened this weekend. But I'm a man of faith, and not many people are these days. But there was a concert at the Vatican last night, Grace for the World, OK? And it was put on by Pharrell Williams and Andrea Bocelli. And thousands and thousands of people came together from different backgrounds, all to enjoy this concert. And I was watching that last night after I watched all the things I'd watched this week, and I thought, alongside this SpaceX stuff, I thought, there is a much bigger picture. We spend so much of our time having these discussions about the minutiae of politics and what's happening right now, and there's huge, great events for good going on in the world, and I think it's fantastic that we're starting to celebrate it.
Well, I think it's a fantastic point, Paul, because at the end of the day, what will be remembered in the grand scheme of human history, these small moments in politics that we talk about on the front pages, they'll be completely lost. But moments like this, when we have these huge, potentially species-changing moments where we're now able to launch rockets that can land again into our atmosphere, those are the moments that will be remembered. Those massive moments of ingenuity of this human race will be what we are remembered for. Can we pull it off? Can we not nuke each other for another 10 years, enough time to get some humans on Mars, so there's an extra candle of life over there too?
I relate to the excitement of the potential. I'm the only person on this panel old enough to remember when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon.
Yeah, my great-grandfather.
Did you? I did. And the excitement as an 11-year-old I felt when that happened was astonishing.
Yeah.
I remember when I was little seeing a rocket go off from the International Space Station, and that was like the most exciting thing.
Yeah, incredible stuff, isn't it? Well, we'll come back to these pictures if we have more to show you, of course. But coming up next, the death of boxing legend Ricky Hatton has sent shockwaves through the sporting world and across the country. I'll be joined by a tabloid legend to pay him tribute next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welsh women say they were stunned when an Airbnb host rejected their booking with the only explanation given, because you're from Wales. The pair had planned a night out in Manchester to attend a concert, but now accuse the host of outright xenophobia. One of them joins us now live to share exactly what happened and why she believes it's a case of discrimination. Joining me now is Gemma Louise Goff. Gemma, thank you so much for joining me. I can't believe your story. It sounds astonishing. So basically, you and your friend, you're in your 30s, you're not exactly, teenagers, you're not a group of young men, booked an Airbnb to go and see a gig. Tell me what happened then.
Well, we found the Airbnb. It looked really clean. It was in the centre. It was exactly what we wanted, just a bed for the night. And we messaged, we paid up front, and she then messaged within the hour sorry, we had the email saying that it was declined and refunded. So we'd messaged and said, you know, like the message says, really politely, hi, why has it been declined, with a kiss on the end? Yeah. And she literally only wrote that one word, and Wales was in capital letters, so it was more like against Wales. It was utter shock.
What did you think when you... I mean, did you think it was a joke? Maybe she was sort of like, you know, had messaged you when she was drunk and it was just a joke? Or... I can't believe anyone would actually say that.
I've never faced discrimination on any level before, so the experience was quite surprising and unsettling at the same time. But I was in utter shock. It made me feel instantly like an outsider and not welcome, for the simple fact I'm from Wales.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. I just got a lovely text message from Ben Leo, who's tuned in and watching the show live in Washington, D.C. Hello, Ben. I'll just read it out to you, I hope you don't mind. He says, hello to you in the panel. More money for space travel. Yes, back to the moon, back to Mars. Make humanity interplanetary so we can launch GB News into space. Absolutely right, my friend. He also says here his son's middle name is Apollo, and that's after the 50th anniversary of the moon landings. Isn't that brilliant? Ben and I share a love for space. I think a few of our presenters here love space too. So we're really happy we could bring you some of those pictures, because I think it's a brilliant story. And hello, Ben. Thanks for watching, and can't wait to see you live in DC too. Let's move on a little bit here, because tragic news today of the British boxing legend Ricky Hatton, who has unfortunately passed away aged 46, and it sent shockwaves through the sporting world. He was found dead at his home in Greater Manchester, of course, earlier this morning. Hatton won world titles light welterweight and welterweight with his all-action style, making him one of the most popular British fighters of all time. Well, I'm now joined by media commentator and former newspaper editor Neil Wallace. Neil, thank you so much for joining me to talk about Ricky Hatton today. What a man. He was such a sensational boxer, and of course we love great British sportsmen here in the UK, and boxers quite often make great characters for the news, of course, as well, don't they? And Hatton was always in the news. Do you have any fond stories that you remember him for?
Well, what I particularly remember really is success doesn't always make people into nice people. In fact, there's a whole series of examples where it's done exactly the opposite, frankly. But Ricky Hatton was one of those genuinely nice, decent people that went out of his way to be a good person as best he could, to be as nice as possible to the rest of the world out there who literally thought he walked on water. He was a good man, but he was troubled by demons. And it's a strange irony, isn't it, that so many great sportsmen hide these demons. And the thing about Hatton was he had the courage not just to go into a boxing ring and win 43 fights on the bouts, but he had the courage, once this came out, to go out and address and talk to you and me, the world, about the issues he faced. And I thought that sort of summed him up, really. He was a giver, not a taker.
Yes, of course. And, you know, that struggle he had with mental health and, of course, drugs, he was open about that in the end, wasn't he? And he had to, which is inspiring for young people, because we always want to see our stars be honest about the difficulties of fame, particularly when you're a sportsman. You have to retire a lot younger in your career. Many of us will have careers that go on till late in our life, but, of course, for them, when it's over, what do they fill their lives with? And some of those, of course, were a few scandals in his time, but, of course, we remember him for being such a great British icon, Neil. He's a huge icon, wasn't he? What do you think your readers would have remembered him by?
He had a great grin. He had a great smile. He would look you in the eye. He would look the reader in the eye. He'd look the camera in the eye. And he was, above all, I think, a really honest man. And I think that he ended up being exposed for some of his weaknesses. Cocaine, I think he was photographed on the front of the News of the World for. But, you know, sometimes that can be beneficial in the sense that you have to come to terms with the truth that you've probably been trying to hide for a long time. And he tried to. And I just hope that he found some sort of solace. But he did talk so open. Look at that grin in that picture there. He was just such a likeable hero. You could, if you're a working class boy, you could imagine him down your street. And that's what you want from one of your heroes, isn't it? You want them to be heroes, but you want them to be somebody you can identify with.
Absolutely.
And Ricky Hatton was a guy you wanted to be. He was one of those guys you'd like to be sat at the bar with, sat at, meet in a crowd, because you know he'd be a decent person. And that's an amazing thing when you consider the enormous amount of fame that he had. I mean, he was irresistible. He was irresistible to the public. He was irresistible to women. He was irresistible to almost anybody, because he did it with everything with such style and panache. And it was only when he sort of felt the need to challenge himself even further that he actually started to run into problems, because he went up a weight in boxing because he felt he had no more challenges left. Yeah. And that's where, unfortunately, he was beaten by Floyd Mayweather. And things started to unravel somewhat. But he's not alone. If you look across sport, there's a great problem when you've been in that situation, like Ricky Hatton did so many times, when you have those huge adrenaline rushes, when you have those huge challenges, those vast pressures upon you, and you win, then you actually set yourself up to fail, really. Yeah. And you start to worry you're going to fail, and you're not going to be able to keep it up there. And that was a tragedy, I think.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, he'll be remembered exceptionally fondly by the British public, and of course, died far too young. It was very, very sad to see that news this morning. But I want to turn to someone else who's been in the press. I hope you don't mind, Neil, just commenting on to this other story yesterday, of course, and today. Thomas Skinner. Another sort of up-and-coming British, English, at least, Essex icon. He was, of course, he's done this exclusive with the papers over the last couple of days. The Daily Mail here, the 3-month affair with married Strictly star Thomas Skinner. They're running with the woman he had an affair with. He met her at a pub. Of course, he's now been on the front pages today. What would you make of do we still need to do this in the press? Do you think this is an important part of sort of, of course, Thomas Skinner's made his whole thing about family and his love for his family. Is this why we sort of still talk about affairs? Is it interesting to people, do you think?
I think double standards are always, A, interesting, but B, also, they need revealing. If this guy builds a career out of being a devoted married man and then uses the fame that he wins accordingly to go out, meet other women, get swept off his feet, fall prey to attention and weakness, then, you're asking for it, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm afraid that I don't have much sympathy for him. I saw him on the front page of another newspaper, sort of obviously weeping. Well, don't get yourself in this situation then.
Yeah, we had this debate earlier on in the show, actually, Neil, because we were asking whether someone could be redeemed after having an affair, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. Relationships can move on, but now he's going on to Strictly. I mean, Strictly is one of the biggest shows in showbiz, isn't it? And you wonder, will the British public forgive him, particularly women? I feel that there's a much stronger emotion with women. I may be speaking out of turn there, but I believe it is, and especially people were looking, can you vote for a man who's had an affair only a few weeks after he's just got married to his wife? That's the sort of stuff perhaps the public might not forgive. What do you make of that?
I think you actually, I think you did. You were very brave there, treading down that path. But I think it's certainly true. Women particularly will react badly to this. It's the betrayal. You know, his wife had not long had a child. And, you know, that's the time when most women would think those wives need loving, nurturing and supporting. And he went out gallivanting with this lady. I think he will struggle for votes because he's not actually coming across as very likeable, is he, in all of this? And to win these things, you need to be likeable. Likeable like Richie Hatton was, deeply, deeply likeable.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the magic dust, isn't it? That's the magic dust. If you're going to be in showbiz, I mean, Neil, trust me, many people dislike me. I get the messages every day, mate. So I've already made my bed. I'm sure they'll come after me from some scandal at whatever some point in time. I hope they don't, but you never know. But you know, maybe there is a point here, right? Because in defence of Thomas Skinner, he's just a bloke, isn't he? And that's where he's made his stardust as being a normal man. And do you think perhaps people will go, do you know what? This just happens in relationships. So many people have affairs. This just proves he's a normal bloke. What do you think?
Have you seen pictures of him?
Yes, I have.
Do we think he might have met this rather beautiful young lady, fallen at his feet, if he hadn't been a TV star? I think he's obviously got something about him because he's done well in life. But I don't think we should ever... you'd be very naive not to be realistic with yourself about the attraction, the gold dust that stardom sprinkles on you. Yeah. And you should try to not be deluded by it. Don't fool yourself.
Yeah, well, they always say power makes the man, don't they, Neil? Neil Wallace there, thank you so much for joining me. Well, coming up on the rest of the show, some breaking news on the front page of The Guardian. Prince Harry has given a bombshell interview and he's shown to show no remorse, no regrets for lashing out at the royal family. I'll bring you all the details in just a few minutes. It's juicy, trust me.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure dominates, bringing wet and windy conditions. We have a Met Office yellow wind warning in force for England and Wales this evening and overnight and into Monday. So low pressure dominates, moving its way eastwards through Sunday night and into Monday with some strong winds, so 60 to 70 miles per hour along the exposed coasts. The band of rain will continue to push its way through, mainly affecting northern parts of Scotland, clearest skies towards the south and east, but behind that, blustery showers across Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales and the southwest, but a milder start to Monday compared to Sunday. So like I said, we still have that wind warning in force across England and Wales, but for Scotland, it's a damp start across the north. Lighter winds here though, and then across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning, showery, especially across northern parts of England as well, where it could be heavy at times. Best of the brightness really focused across East Anglia, the Midlands and the southeast to start the day. But inland, 45 to 55 miles per hour is possible across England and Wales, so take care, especially during rush hour. Otherwise, showers affecting Northern Ireland and merging to give longer spells of rain across Northern England, Northern Wales as well. Towards the south of that, some sunny breaks, but also blustery showers that will rattle through pretty quickly, highs of up to 18 or 19 degrees. To start Tuesday then, it's actually a much brighter start out there. The low pressure will shift its way eastwards, so we'll start to see lighter winds. There'll be a few showers around, mainly across a northern part of England. Bright skies towards the southeast before sunshine turns hazy later, and then we see the return of more wet and windy weather on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, we're getting back to your front pages very shortly, but meanwhile, we're expecting to hear from the United States President Donald Trump, who's returning to the White House. Remember, he's been giving updates on...
At the border in Venezuela, we have a tremendous amount of security. They send a Tren de Aragua, that's the gang, probably the worst gang in the world, MS-13. I think they're probably considered worse. And we don't like what Venezuela is sending us, whether it's their drugs or whether it's their gang members. We don't like it. We don't like it one bit. Hold it. You want to move over here, fellas? Wouldn't it be easier for you? Go ahead.
What was your message to the Qatari Prime Minister on Friday?
Look, we're with them. You know, they've been a great ally. A lot of people don't understand that about Qatar. But Qatar's been a great ally. They also lead a very difficult life because they're right in the middle of everything. So they have to be a little bit politically correct in their terms. But I will tell you, they've been a great ally for the United States, Qatar.
Mr. President, do you anticipate more strikes on Venezuela's front?
Well, we'll see what happens. There's certainly not a lot of boats out there, I'll tell you, since the first strike and then to a lesser extent the second. We don't see any, I mean, we almost see no boats out there, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. There's been very little boat traffic. I can't imagine why.
And just on that, do you think we will start doing strikes on mainland Venezuela?
Oh, we'll see what happens. Look, Venezuela is sending us their gang members, their drug dealers, and drugs. It's not acceptable. We'll see what happens. Not an option or not option. We'll see. He had an election that was wrong. It was almost as corrupt as our election of 2020. You know that? You know what I'm talking about? I wouldn't say theirs was much more corrupt, but it was certainly corrupt. But ours was corrupt also. I may or may not. They're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die, or we may, I don't know, it depends. Up to China. It doesn't matter too much. I'd like to do it for the kids. They like it. I mean, selfishly speaking, I did very well on TikTok, and I got the youth vote. I got numbers that nobody's ever even come close to in the Republican Party. Nobody. If you look back to Romney and all these people, they got practically no votes. I got a lot. And some was attributed to TikTok, and a lot was attributed to Charlie. Well, my message is this. They have to be very, very careful. They have to do something about Hamas. But Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. I told the Emir, who I think is a wonderful person, actually, I said, you need better public relations because you don't really get the public relations. I mean, people talk of it so badly, and they shouldn't be. Qatar's been a very great ally. So Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
You mentioned Charlie Kirk. What organizations on the left
problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
Do you plan on investigating?
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. You know, they're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left.
They're already under investigation?
Already under investigation.
Have you asked to start revoking the visas of those who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death? Have you asked to start revoking the visas of the foreigners who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death?
No, we haven't, but we are looking at names. We don't like that. That's not right. We wouldn't celebrate if something happened on their side, and we don't. These are sick people. These are really deranged people.
Any progress on the Fed chairman, sir?
Well, other than I don't like him.
No, but
he's incompetent. The Fed chairman's incompetent. Sure, I have 3 people that I like a lot. Any one of them would do a good job.
Mr. President, one more on Venezuela.
But I think you have a big cut because I don't think he can help but cutting. It's perfect for cutting. And the thing that he's hurting the most is housing for people. But because we're doing well in everything. Energy's way down. Groceries are down. Everything, almost everything is way down. But housing, because of the Fed, is not what it should be. Okay, but it's not what it should be.
I'm sorry.
What about it? Nothing. The trip to UK is going to be incredible. They've never done it before. Twice honored. And that's because we had non-consecutive terms. You know that. You probably know. But back in the days of Grover Cleveland, I don't think they did this too easily. So we'll see. But this is the first time it's ever happened. And Windsor is supposed to be amazing. They've never used Windsor. They've never had Windsor for this. And they're going to be doing Windsor Castle. It's going to be very exciting. I think a lot of you are going with me. Are you going with us? Huh? Are you going with us, Maggie?
Not with you.
Good.
Just one more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela called the strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
No, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country and the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs. That's what's illegal.
Do you think he's not telling the truth when he said it was a fisherman's boat? Do you think that he's...
Oh, give me a minute. You could see it. You saw the bags of white everything right through the bags. It's nonsense. So we knew it before they even left. We knew it before they even left. We knew exactly where that boat, where it came from, where the drugs came from, and where it was heading. I mean, the problem is nobody's getting on boats anymore, so maybe that's a good problem.
Do you expect NATO to issue sanctions against Russia as you asked them to do over the weekend?
Well, they're not doing the job. NATO has to get together. Europe has to get together and do it. Look, Europe they're my friends, but they're buying oil from Russia. So we can't be expected to be the only ones that are, full bore. But Europe is buying oil from Russia. I don't want them to buy oil. And the sanctions that they're putting on are not tough enough. And I'm willing to do sanctions, but they're going to have to toughen up their sanctions commensurate with what I'm doing.
But just to clarify, you wouldn't move ahead until NATO moves ahead.
Well, I'm ready to move ahead, but they have to do it. I think they will. But right now they're talking and they're not doing. Look, they're buying oil from Russia. We're not buying oil from Russia. They're buying a lot of oil from Russia. That's not the deal.
So on Putin, 2 weeks ago you told us that you would decide who was more to blame for the impasse in the talks, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's Russia. How are you feeling right now?
But when you say impact of what?
The impasse. Sorry, but nothing's happening.
The impasse?
Yeah.
It's not going to matter because when they go in, they're going to be very, very strong. So it's not going to matter. Maggie, go ahead.
Mr. President, European nations do still buy, some of them, buy natural gas from Russia. Would you like to see that pulled back as well?
That's not the deal, though. The deal is they're not supposed, whether it's natural gas or whether it's cigarettes, I don't care. They're not supposed to be buying from Russia. We're spending a lot of money giving. Now, I will say this. Right now, we're just selling weapons to NATO. It's pretty amazing. Biden spent $350 billion. I'm spending nothing. In fact, we're making money. But I want to stop the killing. So it just came out, or I think it came out, but I know for a fact, almost 8,000 young soldiers died this week between the two countries. A little bit more from Russia, but divided. You know, when you're the aggressor, you lose more. I don't know if you know that, but in war, when you're the aggressor, you tend to lose more. But it was a little bit more for Russia, but it was 8,000, a little bit more than 8,017, actually, died this week in that war. Why? And they're Russians. They're not American soldiers, but they're still human beings. They're souls. And I want to stop it. And, you know, I stopped 7 wars. I thought this was going to be an easy one for me, but this has turned out to be tough. The hatred between Zelensky and Putin is unfathomable.
You still believe that they will talk? That they will have a...
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to do all the talking. They hate each other.
When do you think that will take place?
I don't know. Relatively soon.
Has any of the NATO...
We're going to get it worked out one way or the other, but relatively soon.
Has any of the NATO...
They hate each other so much, they can't breathe. So I'm going to have to get involved.
Has any of the NATO members responded to the letter you sent yesterday?
Yeah. They know it's true. They don't want to deny it, you know. They said, well, I'd rather not talk about it. I said, don't. What do you mean you'd rather not? That means you're guilty, right? Yeah, no, they agree. I mean, they look, they're buying oil. And they're buying it through a couple of countries that are selling it. So they're not buying it directly. Countries are buying oil from Russia and selling it into certain NATO countries. Not all, but certain very substantial NATO countries. That's not the deal. Okay? We all set?
Just one more.
Are we all set?
We're good. You go ahead, Swan. Sorry, last one. Just to clarify then, you anticipate the next step with the Ukraine folks to be a summit, like a trilateral summit?
There'll be talks, whether you call it a summit or just a get-together. It doesn't matter. But I'll probably have to get... They hate each other so much they almost can't talk. They're incapable of talking to each other. Thank you.
Mr. President, will the First Lady accompany you to Charlie Kirk's memorial next week?
I didn't ask her that, but a lot of people are. But we're going to Europe
to the
just
UK.
before, so we're going to be doing that. Okay. I haven't even thought of it. I've been thinking about other things. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, there you have it. The United States President Donald Trump. They're talking about an array of issues, as he always does in these little press meetings he gets before. He's always at an airport somewhere, isn't he? He's off. He's busy, busy man. Talks everything from Qatar to Venezuela on everything NATO, really. But we're going to be joined now by former US, well, he's not former US commentator. He's here with us. It's Bob, but it's Bob Weiner. Bob, thank you so much for joining me. What do you make of that? What do you make of that?
I'm sorry he interrupted your show.
Well, that's all right. I'm quite used to it now, Bob. I'm quite used to it, I have to say. But, Bob, you know, I don't know where we should start. Maybe we should start with Venezuela. Because, of course, Trump, we saw the footage, I saw the footage, many people at home might not have seen it, of US jets blowing up Venezuelan, what he called drug gangs, these narcotics smugglers, obviously celebrating, but his attentions are sort of rising because US jets are being seen to be more active in the area. What do you make of Trump's approach to that, Bob?
Well, you're going to be shocked by what I say, but I was the spokesman for the White House Drug Office for 6.5 years and the House Narcotics Committee for another 6. So I actually know a little bit about this. Every administration has the biggest drug bust ever, every single one. He is 100% right to go after Venezuela's drugs. I have no problem with that. And I think he did it well. I think he did it as a surprise to them. He said tonight how he tracked what was in the boats. So he's got some of that evidence that people say he didn't have. And I think he did exactly the right thing. And if he's right that there are no more boats that are traveling, he accomplished something. So I'm for that. That's the one thing he got right in the news conference. The one and only thing he got right.
Well, Bob, because that's interesting because one of the things I think that you'll probably disagree with him on is he said there's the problem in American societies on the left. He called the left scum. He also mentioned that many people on the left were under investigation. Take it from there, Bob.
Radical left lunatics he wants to talk about, while Governor Cox of Utah of Utah, where the thing happened, is talking about and I was with Governor Cox and Wes Moore. Cox is the chair and Wes Moore is the vice chair of the National Governors Association. I was with the two of them last week. And then Cox was talking about the need for bipartisanship. So this is a very important message that Cox is putting out to see how rational I can be on the other side. So this is a very rational message that Cox is putting out. Trump is off the charts. Everybody says he's off the charts. Radical left. And tonight, as you said, it's the problem is on the left. Hey, January 6th, 5 cops killed, 140 injured and he first blamed that left-wing group. I forget what the name of it is even, but he blamed them for it. Of course it was the Trumpies wearing the Trump sign saying kill Mike Pence.
Antifa, Bob. Antifa.
That's it. You got it. And so he's just so off the charts and partisan on this. And by the way, let's not forget Kennedy, Martin Luther King. I mean, what are you talking about here? And so and by the way, we've had these things. This is not the first time. You know, I mean. We had Reagan and Garfield and McKinley, and I mean we've had these assassination attempts of presidents. So this is not new. But for Trump to slam the left and not to take the position of we all got to get together, kumbaya, the country has to calm down, and we can't have this horrible rhetoric on all sides is absurd. It's absolutely absurd from an American president.
Well, Bob, listen, I wish I had longer with you, but unfortunately we're out of time tonight. But come back as usual. We'd love to get your thoughts because we've got the state visit coming up, Bob. So Bob Wheeler, the US commentator, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm going to be with you in your studio next week.
Can't wait. That'll be fantastic, Bob.
Yeah.
See you then, mate.
Right.
Take care.
Right.
Listen, I'd love to talk to the rest of the panel of you about this. I'm sure you have a lot to say, but I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to talk about Trump.
Maybe we'll see Bob next week to discuss it all.
I'm sure we will.
I did brilliantly tonight.
Yeah, you did, Paul. You did, as ever. And Bill, thank you. Chloe, thank you. Paul, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back very soon. I'll be back here tomorrow night covering for Patrick, of course, while he's still a new father. If you're watching in the morning, good morning. And stay tuned for breakfast. If you're going to bed, good night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure dominates, bringing wet and windy conditions. We have a Met Office yellow wind warning in force for England and Wales this evening and overnight and into Monday. So low pressure dominates, moving its way eastwards through Sunday night and into Monday with some strong winds, so 60 to 70 miles per hour along the exposed coasts. The band of rain will continue to push its way through, mainly affecting northern parts of Scotland, clearest skies towards the south and east, but behind that, blustery showers across Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales and the southwest, but a milder start to Monday compared to Sunday. So like I said, we still have that wind warning in force across England and Wales, but for Scotland, it's a damp start across the north. Lighter winds here though, and then across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning, showery, especially across northern parts of England as well, where it could be heavy at times. Best of the brightness really focused across East Anglia, the Midlands and the southeast to start the day. But inland, 45 to 55 miles per hour is possible across England and Wales, so take care, especially during rush hour. Otherwise, showers affecting Northern Ireland and merging to give longer spells of rain across Northern England, Northern Wales as well. Towards the south of that, some sunny breaks, but also blustery showers that will rattle through pretty quickly, highs of up to 18 or 19 degrees. To start Tuesday then, it's actually a much brighter start out there. The low pressure will shift its way eastwards, so we'll start to see lighter winds. There'll be a few showers around, mainly across a northern part of England. Bright skies towards the southeast before sunshine turns hazy later, and then we see the return of more wet and windy weather on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very easy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. This is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight.
I'm sorry, our two countries are the two least racist countries ever to exist in the history of the world. And
we pay tribute to the free speech legend Charlie Kirk after his terrible assassination. I'll be joined by Winston Marshall to talk about his life, why he was so important, and the impact of this week's tragic events. And later on in the show, we'll also be debating whether people should lose their jobs for celebrating his death, or is this cancel culture on the other foot? Also, are Jews being erased from public life? We'll be joined by Jake Wallace-Simons, talking, amongst other things, about Ireland boycotting Eurovision because Israel are taking part. Andrew Doyle is here. Well, he'll be calling in from America to give us his perspective from across the pond on the polarised reactions to Charlie Kirk's murder and how Andrew somehow got an apology from Alistair Campbell. Journalist Helen Joyce will be joining me as she talks about trans activists weaponising the justice system in the latest on the Graham Linehan arrest saga after my interview with the Father Ted creator. Let's just say Graham is far from the only person who's been affected. And Free Speech Union's Connie Shaw finally reveals the full truth behind her cancellation at Leeds University. And we've got comedians answering some crazy culture conundrums from our live studio audience. But first, the news with Bethany Elsie.
Good
Good evening, I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom. The former world boxing champion Ricky Hatton has been found dead at his home in Greater Manchester. He was 46. Police say they're not treating his death as suspicious. Hatton won world titles at light welterweight and welterweight, but it was also his down-to-earth personality that made him one of the most popular British boxers. Hitman, as he was known throughout his career, had a number of iconic fights against Costa Tszyu, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. After retiring, he'd spoken openly about his struggles with mental health and drug addiction, but he was due to make a comeback this December. Hatton's former manager, Frank Warren, said he always gave everything.
He was accessible. You know, he was a fan's friend. He was like the bloke. I mean, he'd be down the pub with them. He would, you know, go to the match. He was a massive Man City fan. You know, he was just well-loved. He was a really well-loved boxer. You know, the fans adored him. You know, when his career was, you know, when he retired, he'd come along to shows. If you introduced him into the ring, he got the biggest cheer out of everybody. You know, that was the big chant, wasn't it? There's only one Ricky Hatton. I mean, that's the truth. There was only one Ricky Hatton.
The Prime Minister has condemned the violence during yesterday's rally in central London, saying he will not stand for assaults on police. 26 officers were injured and 24 people arrested at the Unite the Kingdom march, organised by Tommy Robinson, which saw around 150,000 people take part. Sir Keir Starmer said peaceful protest is core to British values, but added that we will never surrender our flag to those who use it as a symbol of division. Around 5,000 people also attended a counter-protest organised by Stand Up to Racism. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has accused the Prime Minister of lying to Parliament over what he knew and when over Peter Mandelson's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. It's emerged Sir Keir Starmer was given a report detailing the peer's relationship with the convicted paedophile before Lord Mandelson was named ambassador to the US. But Downing Street says he was economical with the truth before his appointment. Peter Mandelson was sacked on Thursday after damning emails he sent to Epstein were published. Donald Trump's top diplomat has reissued his concern over Israel's attack on Hamas inside Qatar as he starts a two-day visit to the Middle East. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio prayed at the Western Wall in Jerusalem alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Rubio said the US president was not happy with the strike on Qatar, which killed 5 members of Hamas, but that it will not change the alliance between the two countries. And just to bring you some breaking news before I finish up, Prince Harry has defended his decision to speak out against his family, saying his conscience is clear. The Duke of Sussex spoke to The Guardian while visiting Ukraine's capital after meeting with the King earlier this week. He came under fire after the publication of his book Spare and his Netflix documentary Harry and Meghan, but he told the paper that he feels the press want to believe that he's miserable, but he insists he isn't and that he's happy with his life. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Something terrible happened this week. Terrible for a human being, terrible for a wife and 2 young children. Terrible for Western liberal democracy. A man was assassinated because of his beliefs. Of course, that's happened before, and it's always a tragedy when violence supersedes tolerance. But it's one of those beliefs in particular that makes this such a pivotal moment at such a pivotal time for our society. Charlie Kirk believed in debate. He believed in debate so much that he made it his life's work, travelling around the globe, seeking out those who might disagree with him, particularly the young in places of learning, and he instigated conversations. And he did so with respect and compassion and in a free exchange of differing ideas. That in itself seems radical in this age of polarised discourse, which in reality is so often just polarised insults. Just look at the accusations that have been so carelessly, maliciously slung about before and after his death. Racist, homophobic, transphobic. Yet it's apparent from any of Charlie Kirk's output that before we even get to the content of his arguments, just seeing how he talked to everyone, anyone, the content of his character reveals someone who lived by the highest examples of his faith. Kind, respectful, warm, open, and accepting of all. which to those who've tried so hard to trample his name, particularly in the aftermath of his murder, in order to justify and even shamelessly celebrate it, is the real threat. Not Charlie's ideas, but the civil, open exchange of them. Of course, he hoped to persuade people that his ideas were right. That's what debate is. But more importantly, he recognised the need to create a space for people to be listened to and to be heard. He recognised that a generation were being silenced, and he sought to rectify that. A society even told what to think, not how to think. That in fact, to think, to question, was in itself hateful. All of us silenced by #NoDebate. And when that no longer worked, people were then silenced through shame, given labels like far-right and Nazi, so they were no longer deemed worthy of dialogue, could be excluded from conversation. And now that that is no longer working, well, we saw just how far someone was willing to go to finally silence Charlie. So, of course, he is a martyr to having a voice and using it. That was the gift he gave so many in life, which will no doubt increase 1,000-fold in death. And the point